This is Brownie's Podcast.
Welcome, degenerates. This is Brownie's Podcast. Jonathan Brown, Campbell Brown, me, Dean Thomas. We've got a huge podcast, including Jonathan's Adventure West. He's part of a boxing entourage and some wild...
First time he sort of entered the boxing arena, holding belts and being the cuts man.
Who would you rather have than this lug nuts in your corner, walking out to Eminem's "Till I Collapse"? One of the great walkout songs.
Absolutely, it is a great walkout song, but my record has been broken.
All right, no, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Some crazy
Stuff.
First, off the bat, we've got to enjoy this for the Bombers fans.
See the Bombers fly up, up.
And you don't like this. I can see the hatred in your eyes.
Of course I don't like it.
Mate, they beat GWS. Come on.
I was thinking about the song, though. You think of Collingwood's a legendary song. Richmond and Carlton.
Yeah.
You can sing along with that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're huge. But Essendon are climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
But does it match up with Richmond and Carlton for the real height of a theme
If
song?
the ones you just mentioned are the top tier,
Yeah.
Bombers is middle tier.
Yeah.
There's definitely not. Yeah, it's not that bad.
See the Bombers fly up, up.
And you got the GWS ones in the middle tier.
Yeah, it's middle tier. I think Fremantle's up there. He's up there with Richmond.
Middle tier.
Oh, you don't think?
It's good, but middle
I
tier.
thought it was Richmond and Blues. But Dog obviously doesn't like hearing it. Is there a real hatred, Dog,
Mate.
for the Essendon Football Club?
Not now. Not now that I've finished, squared off with everyone, Lloydie and all the guys. But what a fantastic win.
Mate.
GWS, great side.
Not lately.
How good is Kyle Langford?
Yeah,
he's kicked 24 goals this year. He's equal third on the goal kicking at the moment. He kicked 51 and was nearly All-Australian last year.
Mm-hmm.
A very good player. And I'll tell you who was almost the most important player on the ground was Matt Guelphy, because he played half defensive small forward on Lockie Whitfield. Kept him
Did a great job.
17, 18 touches, no influence. He didn't have his run and get. Plus, he hit the scoreboard and kicked 3 goals.
Yep.
I thought that was a bit of a coaching masterstroke.
Yeah, I think he's coaching really well at the moment, Brad Scott. I love how at the start of the year he put on the record the Essendon edge, and people hung on him. But his players have backed it up, and they've backed it up with their actions. I think
What about Durham?
Zach Merritt's been fantastic, but these younger midfielders, especially Durham, he's really jumped on the back of that and displayed great defensive behaviours, great aggression, and also then the matchups. You're right, Guelphy's matchup on Whitfield and Jake Kelly's job on Toby Green. And Toby Green actually really struggling, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not playing good footy.
It's been a real challenge for him this year, the All-Australian captain last year. But loving what Brad's doing at Essendon, I think he's done a fantastic
Bombers
job on
fans
and off the field.
can get proper excited.
Yeah.
They can, yeah.
Well, they should play finals now.
Well,
Surely.
they haven't won a final for over 20 years. So that's their next big step.
Well, since we cooked them in the A1 grand final,
That's their next
I
big
often go
step.
back to that. But it's great to see. We need a strong Bombers. They're up and about, and
John,
they look good.
This season, the top 8 doesn't look like the teams we're most excited about, like your mob, who we'll get to. Jesus. But Collingwood and Carlton are still 7th and 8th. And then we got all these, the top 4 doesn't look like we think. It's this season, the ending to this season, Dog, is going to be wild.
It should be, and I think the win of the round obviously was Port Adelaide. They were just...
They were fantastic.
Brody, well done.
They were brilliant. So, credit for the Cats for sort of coming back, because it got out to about 48 points there and it looked like it was all over. But Horn Francis's first half was sublime.
So,
Butters
Dog,
and wines.
On that, Dog, how does Chris Scott during the week at the press conference, the other Scott brother, he clearly puts a circle around Jason Horn-Francis and says he'll be our focus. And then they bring Mark O'Connor back in and let Jason Horn-Francis run around the first half with no one near him.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
It shouldn't have, because he was the most influential player on the ground. Then they sent the Irishman to him in the second half.
Yeah.
And no influence. But then Ollie Wines and Butters and those guys stepped up. And, I thought Lear was good. Radigalia was good. Poor old Tomahawk's desperately out of form, speaking.
At least he kicked the goal.
He
Broke
kicked
the goal.
one.
He must have listened to my Friday fire up.
He broke the drought.
That's it.
It had been a month coming, and the Tomahawk hit the scoreboard.
I just thought they would have been disappointed in their veterans, and I thought maybe the lack of going after Jason Horn-Francis, I thought that set the tone for the game early on, and the veterans played with that attitude. I thought the Geelong veterans are disappointed. They did fight back hard. What about the Jeremy Cameron situation? So late in the game, he clearly hits the ground hard with his head.
Yeah.
They're the doctor goes out there, does a quick check out in the field, but he stays out there. Obviously, it was a tight game.
Delayed onset.
And then he's going to miss with concussion next week. He's got delayed onset concussion.
Can happen.
What should the rules be in those situations? Like I'm a bit more old school. I'm prepared to let the players just go and obviously type. But I know it's such a big issue in our game that it's overwhelming the rules in our game. Do they have to stop the play to send the player off? Like a blood rule situation.
Yeah, but yes, I think so, potentially. Because the safety of the player must be paramount. And there is such thing as delayed onset, that you can pass the test and then fail it the next day.
Right.
Happens a bit more in close games.
Exactly.
It's got a way of happening, doesn't it? But does it have to be like the blood rule? Because in that situation, like I've been in those situations where the doctors come out and they tell you to come off or check in, you tell them to go and get effed, and go away and leave me alone, especially if it's in a close game. But that's what happens because the passion and players are out there competitors. So there's no way knowing the doctor's going to be able to get him off.
No.
He's not going to physically drag him off. So they probably need help with the rules. The AFL's changing everything else. They probably need to make this a bit more black and white to make it easier for the staff.
Jeez.
What is, Brownie, you've had a couple. What does it actually feel like to have a concussion? I've never had one. So what does it actually feel like?
Foggy, dazed,
Well,
headache.
every Saturday night after I've had a few too many. No, I reckon they're different situation, but quite often the worst is where you lost your legs. Isn't it? You lose your balance and your equilibrium. So,
And you look like a
stumble
freshly
around
born-
like a drunk.
It's like you were at the
Freshly born
Nova
horse.
Christmas
Yeah, you
party
do.
a couple of years ago. Remember when he cut his
That's
nose?
right,
You lost
exactly
your
right.
legs.
The things I've seen this man do when his legs go.
Yeah,
My God.
But that's the feeling. I've had a couple where your eyes get mucked up and you blurred vision.
Jesus.
That's obviously pretty challenging. I had that in the second half of the final once, blurred vision. So, but if you actually think of the rules back then, 2003, I was knocked out the first bounce. And I played every minute of the game. Now, I'm not patting myself on the back though, but it just shows.
I know.
Now, I was wobbly legs, but I would have missed the whole grand final apart from the first second of the game. You would have been absolutely filthy if that was the case, if the rules were in place back in the day.
Jesus. Valet to Cam McCarthy, real sad news out of the West.
Yeah, shocking. It was always going to be a struggle for Freedman on Friday night, wasn't it?
Well, John, they were
playing with a
leading-
heavy heart.
But they were leading in stats across. At one point, it was 110 to 10-1.
Yeah, but they got blown apart early.
He was much loved.
Yeah.
Like he was a character. The GWS boys and the Dockers boys all, loved him, didn't they?
They did, absolutely.
The
He's a real
moment-
character. He just lost his way. And unfortunately for players, every player's different, obviously, but it is a big problem when players lose their direction, when they don't have the structure of AFL football, some more so than others, but and then they lose their purpose in life.
Man, it was so sad. The memoriam before the game was really beautiful. They had him on the big screen, and Fifey and
Alex
Pierce
Pearce,
were really overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, at least probably half of that list would have played with him.
Yep.
I would have thought. So I remember I lost my grandfather walking into a game. My brother rang me, and I thought, could have left this till after the game. But as I was walking into a game, he said, my grandfather's passed away.
Jesus.
Sort of unexpectedly. He did have cancer. And to try and play the game that day, I'm not sure if you've been in a similar situation. I know Mum passed away, dog, obviously for yourself, whether that was in footy season or not. But playing with a heavy heart was almost impossible.
Is it something that the AFL and certainly the Fremantle Dockers need to look into? There have been multiple players that have passed in the last 5 or 6 years, and they've all come from Fremantle.
Yeah.
Like Shane Yarran passed away, Colin Sylvia. We had Harley Ballock recently, and now Cam McCarthy. And Reece Palmer was very, very lucky to have survived that motorbike crash only 5 or 6 years ago as well. Is that a serious thing that the AFL and the Fremantle Dockers need to look at and potentially help the players transition out of AFL footy into the real world? It hasn't been happening at other clubs.
Yeah, well, I guess the problem is that was from 7 or 8 years ago, wasn't it? So these things always come through in hindsight, don't they? So it's hard to go back. But yeah,
Are they doing enough?
Well, you certainly would be welfare checking that list or those players from that time. And obviously, I think Ross Lyon was the coach. He'd be distraught by it all. He'd have close relationships with the players. And look, it may be a coincidence, dog. You hope it's a coincidence, but I've got no doubt Fremantle would be going out there and doing the welfare checks and the necessary checks to make sure that list or the players that were involved at that time are okay.
Yeah.
On a more positive note, Wasn't it great to see the Prime Minister of Australia really embrace
I missed this.
the sporting code and the sporting club
What happened?
that he loves in this country?
What
Now, I'm
happened?
not an Albo fan, right?
He's from Sydney. You wouldn't know an AFL but especially
He
an
likes the
AFL
Hawks.
boy
He's been a
smashing him in
member
the
for
face.
30 years. He's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like Paul
stop
Keating
it.
and these
Stop
guys.
it.
Turnbull,
Stop
Malcolm Turnbull was asked about an AFL team. He said, "Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the Sharks." Right? No idea. But they got him in the huddle. He was down there in Tassie
Really?
yesterday for the Hawks and
Mate.
Saints game on Saturday.
That's a sanctuary.
It is. I've only ever seen two people invited into Hawthorn's inner sanctum huddle to sing the song.
Who we got?
Sammy Soho, who used to give the suits to all the boys. Soho works up
Get
down
in
there
here,
in Chapel
Sammy.
Street.
So he got invited into
He
the
got
song.
invited, yeah.
You're kidding.
And now
Jesus.
Anthony Albanese.
How many free suits was he
Oh, he was
dishing
looking
out?
after the boys for years, mate. Derby Day, Cup Day, Oaks Day. You
Mate,
know.
that inner sanctum. So we've had life members at the Lions who've gone for 40 years and never got us to go into a song.
Yeah.
What about when Rob Lowe was in the song for Collingwood? Eddie's got him into the Collingwood
right.
rooms. They've had a good win.
Actor Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they pan around and then threw the arm around Rob Lowe. I've asked Bucks about it. He wasn't happy about the
Really?
situation, but
Hey.
he was overruled by the president.
Richmond is the heat off my boys. Obviously, we've regressed
Yes.
back to our
No
worst.
no West Coast.
Oh, man, it's wild.
Yes.
But Richmond, I need some light
I feel
here.
sorry for Adamuze.
Yeah,
He's
it's
inherited
just,
a sandwich.
and they haven't started their rebuild yet.
Nah, you know what, Damien
inherited
Hardwick?
Yeah.
He's read the tea leaves to perfection.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
He said, I'm out of here. I'm going to go up and sign a 7-year, 6-year
Yeah.
deal up at the Gold Coast Suns, who are on the up.
And Dimmer wouldn't have known about all those academies up there.
No,
on the Gold Coast.
that's
He wouldn't
right.
have known about
And
all
I'm
the
going to
talent.
wrap up this sandwich.
Yeah, is it a
right?
6 inch or a
And
foot
I'm-
long sandwich?
It's a foot long.
It's a foot long.
And I'm just going
It's
to
on the
hand
menu at
deliver it to
Subway.
Adamuze and say, eat this pure manure. Because their list, right, is only getting older. They lost by nearly 100
Yeah.
points.
Oh,
Dion
rough.
Prestia's in his
So you're
30s.
saying this is not the lowest?
They'll go lower.
They're going to go lower.
Yeah, low,
Can't go
low,
much lower
low,
than
low.
that.
Beck, yes, please.
Toby Nankervis
Oof.
in his 30s. Tom Lynch in his 30s. Dustin Martin in his 30s. Camden McIntosh was dropped. He's in his 30s.
Nankervis.
They've got old players, Grimes, all been great servants of that club. 2, 3 premierships, great era. But like the Hawks found out at the end, like you can't retire them all at once.
Yeah.
But they're not the same players they were through that period. And I think Liam Baker's gone. It was quite funny. They played
Where's
the
he going?
Dockers the other
Going to
day, and all the
Perth?
Dockers players were getting into him.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, that club! I'm not going to go there if they're going to treat me like." Right, so it's going to be the West Coast Eagles, you'd think. Jack Graham is a guy that they maybe won't be there. Just did his hammy again.
Yeah.
That they're going to be in a world of hurt for a short period of time.
But isn't that the way the system's designed, though? They've won 3 premierships in the last 10 years. The system's designed to go back and spend time at the bottom of the ladder. Do you think North Melbourne, who would you prefer to be a supporter of, though? Richmond or North Melbourne? You prefer to be North?
I
Purely
think
looking at the
North
list.
have bottomed out, and they are now on the upward trajectory, albeit they haven't won a
Certainly
game.
didn't look like it against Gold
Sorry,
Coast.
they're on the plateau trajectory, I should
They
say.
certainly are on the upward trajectory.
Plateau trajectory, but they're not plummeting down like
if
the
I was a
Tigers.
North supporter, I'd be bloody on the upwards trajectory. They're beaten by 90 points by Gold Coast. Brisbane. Brisbane
Big
have been
John, now
gutsy.
what? Nay, gutsy,
Mate,
but
gutsy.
a draw does not help you,
Mate,
mate.
they've
You
got-
are 3 above the Eagles currently.
They've got hearts bigger than Farlap at the moment. They got a huge amount of injuries, 4 ACLs.
Will you make the finals?
I'm not sure. Well, we've got a good run the next few weeks. I think we might sneak in. If we can just survive, we get Will Ashcroft back, a couple others back in the near future. But that was a mighty effort. Big crowd down there. A draw. But it shouldn't be a draw. Should have gone extra time. We are in the entertainment business.
You
I
say
don't
this
like
because
the
it's
draw.
because it's your team. The other week we had this chat and you said in home and away season draws can fly.
No. I didn't say that.
You did.
Go back and check the tape.
I can't be bothered.
I think that because draws take away your percentage, and we're in an uneven competition, we don't all play. It's not really an equal fixture. So the percentage is important, I think. And now when draws occur, well, it doesn't matter what happens to those teams' percentage. So why don't we play an extra 5 minutes? We're in the entertainment game, Dino.
I'm with you.
There's 40,000 people there and they go home flat as pancakes.
Yes.
Same as the Collingwood. What was the game? Collingwood-Essendon.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. It was just
Also,
so flat.
After the main siren, you have another break. The excitement builds up. We'll go to extra time.
Exactly right.
Entertainment.
And don't give me this that the players can't go an extra 10 minutes. Absolute crap. They've already gone for 130 minutes. An extra 10 minutes is not going to kill anyone.
It was a spicy round. We got a lot to get to. Bet real quick. Your golf game now.
Yeah, it's important.
Now you were cooked. You went and had a swing with John at the driving range, and we looked at the video of you, and you had a great swing.
Yeah.
But then when John came along, every swing of yours, dog.
Well, it's because you had the camera out first and foremost.
Yes.
Got a bit of camera shy there.
Yes.
But been working on it week by week. And last week I said, I've solved it, Like,
Solved it.
Solved golf.
it. Okay?
There's no such thing in golf as solving a problem.
She announced it to us all, didn't she?
Solved golf.
Straight in the door
Solved it.
first.
You get
she
your
goes,
driver
"I've
right,
solved
your
it."
putter goes. You get your putter right, your
That's right.
chipping goes to.
It was something to do with the elbow.
It was the shoulder. I moved the shoulder out of the way. And then I did a little practice over on Mother's Day.
Yes.
I'm swinging by the plane now.
Yes.
So it's actually going to like 190 now. So
And the
I'm pretty
words
strong.
she used today,
Yeah.
last week it was solved.
Yeah.
This week was, hey, JB, I'm fixed.
Whoa.
No.
Big news.
Solved and fixed.
I'm
In a
fixed.
golf
I
game.
redeemed myself.
Two words that you do not associate
Imagine
with golf.
Tiger Woods at a press conference. Good news. I'm fixed.
Yeah,
Great news.
yeah.
Back in a second. And welcome back to Brownie's podcast. Now, I want to get to your Perth trip, mate. So explain to everyone what the hell you were doing in Perth.
Yeah, Mother's Day, so I thought I'd go and celebrate Mother's Day. And my dear mother passed away 8 months ago, so I thought I'd rather be away from the family at that time, take my mind off things. So I go and watch me mates fight.
Yep.
And Andrew Maloney, who was fighting for a world title, Jason was beaten on Monday night, but Andrew was fine. So I thought I'm going to go over there, Dino, because
Absolutely.
I'm 3-0 as a flag bearer.
Jesus.
When I've carried the Australian flag out,
Yes.
he wins.
Mate.
He wins hands down every single time.
Absolutely.
Well, I go over there to Perth, and so it was fun. Went over there Saturday evening after doing the St Kilda Hawthorn game. I thought there might be a few dramas, though, when got on the plane, and there was a lot of skylarking getting done up the back of the plane.
Skylarking.
So, and then another 4 hours on the plane, obviously. The boys have just tipped into a few more. And as we arrived, they said no one can exit the plane as yet. For 15 minutes, we had to wait on the plane.
What?
They've opened the door. There was about 10 coppers. Statements. They were there to arrest the skylarks up the back.
I guarantee someone's either lit up a dart or gone the vape.
I think there were several things. I overheard the statements getting made to the coppers, vaping going on in the toilets.
Jesus.
May have been some hip flask action.
Hey, the hip flasks are fine.
And
Come on.
there may have been a pass at one of the air hostesses,
Jesus.
the flight attendants.
Oh, God.
So a lot of rowdy behaviour, which doesn't sort of fit in for a commercial airliner. So those boys were arrested. So that was the start of the trip.
So
I
now-
did get concerned because I have been arrested on a flight before.
Mate, you've seen a semi-automatic weapon come onto a plane
I have.
aimed at you.
Absolutely.
You
You're damn right.
I remember that in
Thailand.
Thailand, and quite amazing. We got I
The
think
Thai
the
was
Thai
it Thai 7?
Thai 7, the Bangkok 7.
Bangkok 7.
We got a little bit
Bali
carried away.
9 and the
They
Bangkok
sound
7.
like tribute bands.
Oh, it's the best.
I could empathise with the boys. So, but what they didn't receive, which we did receive when we were escorted off the plane by the military police or with machine guns, we received a standing ovation. So anyway, that was the start of the trip, but it was part of it was the Cambosis George Cambosis fought Vasily Lomachenko.
And your boy was before the main one.
That's right.
And you were in his proper posse because when he came out, he played one of the great walkout songs, Till I Collapse, off the Eminem show, one of the great rev-up songs.
Mate, it was fun. We went out there, carried the flag out, and he absolutely dominated the fight.
Right.
Dominated. And to the point where his wife, Chelsea, got in the ring and said, what do you reckon? She's obviously nervous and a bit overwhelmed with the situation. The young bloke there, I said, don't worry. He's won by at least 3 rounds.
You said that to his wife.
At worst.
Yep.
At worst, he's won by 3 rounds.
Yep.
Well, unbelievably then, the judges score it in favour of the Mexican fighter.
Really?
Now, there's 2 Mexican judges.
Yes.
And it's a Mexican association, the World Boxing
You've said
Council.
Mexican a lot, which you're alluding to corruption, John?
Well, Jason said straight after the fight, this is corruption. I'm retiring straight away. Sorry, Andrew said, this is corruption. I shouldn't be fighting.
And when one judge scored at him, I was like, come on, like, all right, that's it can't get any worse than that. Surely the other two have got it to me wide. And there's no explanation other than it's corruption. It's a load of shit. Like, no qualified judge could see him winning that fight.
Man, that's absolutely wild. Will he get into trouble for saying that by the
Probably not.
boxing fathers?
I mean, if you said that in AFL or another code, it'd be absolutely $50,000 fine, suspension. Boxing has a history of that sort of stuff.
He's put months of his life into this. It's probably financially his wife's invested as well.
Absolutely.
Everything.
And then
he's still taking personal training classes during the week, to make ends meet.
Really?
Yeah, he is. Like, it's a tough game. And both him and Andrew, it's been a bad week for the family because Jason lost his world title on Monday night in Japan. But so both the boys work really hard. They're the kindest guys. My young Jack boxes or trains out there where the boys train in the same gym. And they're lovely fellas. And for this to happen was just an absolute travesty. He was furious after the fight. We went in the rooms and a lot of tears. So, but it wasn't the only stuff up of the day, Dino.
No, but just wait, before we go to this next stuff up, did the wife come back to you and say, gonna win where we Great call, man.
Pretty much. She didn't speak to me afterwards. Look like she wanted to knock me block off.
Now, this other thing's crazy. This other mistake.
Well, so the main event was on Vasily Lomachenko and George Kambosos. So that was huge. Lomachenko's a legend of the sport. And to see a master of his craft close up was fantastic to see. So do you realise he went off to the war, fought for Ukraine?
What?
Gave up boxing, went and did a couple of years in the military service.
What?
So he's just making his comeback. Again, he's won 2 gold medals. He's been a unanimous world champion in the past. So he's now got to go back and earn his belts back.
Holy
Give them up to go to the war.
Oh my
God. An absolute legend. His nickname's the Soldier of Christ.
I like that.
How good is that?
And,
like that.
mate, he was an absolute assassin out there. So he won easy. But then the girls fought.
The Soldier of Christ.
Soldier of Christ. Great nickname. The girls fought in the for a world title. Nina Johnson from England and Shanerka Johnson from Australia. It was a great fight. The girls were fantastic. And then they've got up.
So we'll pick it up.
After the
So
fight.
who was the winner announced initially?
So Nina Johnson was announced. The British girl was announced as the winner, which sort of got a few surprising looks because most of the crowd thought Johnson won, but it wasn't that big of a difference. You go, okay, right, that can happen in boxing clearly, as Andrew Maloney saw a few moments earlier. And then I've never seen anything like this happen in sport.
We'll pick it up from when she's celebrating.
She's celebrating.
Listen to the announcer.
2, I didn't see that coming. On one scorecard, a 96-94 for Hughes, and the other judge, 95.
So now the
Fight is
back
back
to the centre of the ring.
A draw. We definitely thought it was a close fight. It was reflected on 2 of the 3 scorecards, but Hughes remains champion.
Judge Oliveira scores the competition, 95-95.
Wow.
Keeley
Wait.
scores the competition,
He made a
96,
mistake.
94. Nakamura, 98-92 for your winner by majority. Fighting out of the blue corner.
Oh, he made a mistake. Oh, my goodness.
Jesus.
He made an epic mistake.
What is happening over there?
Nice.
It was an absolute turmoil.
It was absolute pandemonium, absolute turmoil. The ring announcers got up because Anthony Grover was in charge, former Fremantle Dockers player. He was in charge of the scorecards. And I went over and asked him about this after. He said, mate, I had it circled. The ring announcer has got up and just read the wrong corner.
Wow.
And so she was flat ass. I saw Nina at the bar afterwards.
That's
Nina Johnson, and I went up to her. I said, that's the worst thing I've ever seen happen in a sporting arena. Can I buy you a drink? And she goes, yeah, you can actually.
That's
so
like-
I have. She goes, I have a stiff vodka.
Do you know during the week Terry Bailey on racing.com called a wrong horse home
Right.
for like 40 seconds after the race, didn't know and didn't correct it until then.
Really?
Yeah, so if you were just listening to the race on radio and not watching it, you would have potentially thought you'd won, only for it to have not happened at all. That's exactly what happened then.
Well, anytime this happens, John and I think of a great moment that happened 8 years ago at the Miss Teen Universe competition. And the great Steve Harvey hosted it. We all familiar with Steve Harvey, Dog? You know,
Oh, of course.
from
Family
Family
Feud.
Feud.
Yeah.
Now, this is how you handle it. This is how you handle it if you stuff up. If you're got the mic and it's your fault. So Steve has announced the wrong winner. And then this is how he handles it.
I will take responsibility for this. It is my mistake. Still a great night.
Horrible mistake. Still a great night.
I think we all had a great time. Horrible mistake. One more time. Still a great night.
I will take responsibility for this. It is my mistake. Still a great night.
You're damn right, Steve.
Mate, at least he owned it. He goes, I will take responsibility. The ring announcer over in Perth.
Yeah.
But he didn't take responsibility.
He tried to gloss over it by getting more elevated.
More elevated, didn't he? He just got bigger. So,
Brilliant.
Anyway.
So while you're over there, you hanging with Perth celebs? What's happening?
Well, I saw Vasily Lomachenko on the way out.
Yeah.
So I got a photo with him. What a lovely man. He broken English, of course, Ukrainian. So I thought, is he the most famous person I've met on Instagram? 2.2 million followers.
Not bad.
So I thought, because Ukraine's a pretty big country and he's a worldwide name. But no, it doesn't even come close.
Really?
Looked at Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
3 million. So he's close to Robbie. He's
Wait,
the other famous person.
Would you know Rihanna has like 120 million? Like if we're playing the how many? These aren't impressive numbers.
No, the ones that you've actually met.
Gotcha.
The other one I know was Niall Horan.
Yeah, Niall, he's good friends with him.
I was talking to him the other night. He was in town playing him and last Monday night in Melbourne. Do you know how many he's got?
10 mil?
No, like 80 or something.
32.5 million followers.
I was a bit off, but that's a lot. That's
We're going to get him on, man. I forget your mates.
32 million teeny boppers.
Yeah.
So they're his followers.
Then
So
when Pearl Jam come out later in the year, we get Eddie Vedder on, or
Eddie will come on for
Will
sure. Yeah. Are we still going to be on though?
we can do a special edition of Brownie's podcast.
We should do a special with Eddie, shouldn't we?
I think so.
It's not till November.
Wait,
So
Great.
that'll be fun.
you see Nick Nat, man?
Saw Nick Nat.
What?
He was sitting beside
Is he getting
Nick
big?
Nat.
I've heard he's getting massive.
Not too bad, but he's a big man. He's just huge.
Yes.
Isn't he?
Tell me more.
Like I felt like a dwarf.
A dwarf.
I had a bit. He was having a beer.
Yeah.
And he's getting a lot of selfies. And I felt like that. I felt like the teaser opponent because people were coming over to have photos and selfies for him, but then I could see that they were feeling sorry for me because I'm standing. I would get them invited as the extra into the photo.
Is the word dwarf even a thing?
Well,
It's like when people call, like I've always called Xavier Alice.
Yeah.
But some people say Xavier.
Yeah,
Like-
I don't know.
Like, what is it?
But John has a history of pronouncing stuff funny. Like, what's my favourite one of yours? Off. How do we say off? How do you say off, Beck?
Off.
And John?
Off.
No.
Off. And the other one is tribunal.
Tribunal. Remember when Dougie Hawkins said Namur on the footy show?
Namur. That was great.
For a year, people just came up to him in the street saying Namur.
Yeah.
So
it was
good
great.
trip, mate.
It was a great trip. I got back last night. Fantastic. But RAC Arena, where the Perth Wildcats play, Dino.
That's sick, eh?
That is one of the greatest indoor arenas I've been to. 14,000 people, but the stands go up.
Yep.
Obviously, they go up, but it's very vertical.
Yep.
So it's really loud and a great atmosphere there, especially when Campbell came out. A lot of Greek fans there and a lot of Ukrainian fans in the end.
We're going to go to ads. We're going to talk about this year's listener party.
Yeah, we do. And also, what about, talk about fake news?
Yeah.
Fake news. I said on this podcast that I thought that Shane Crawford was going to come to Kentucky. We all thought he was going to come. He
absolutely.
didn't come, right? He didn't come. I went. Why was I listening to the radio this morning here on this station, your show, Brody, your show, and Lauren Phillips is banging on about how Shane Crawford went to the Kentucky Derby with Mason Cox?
Are you sure, man?
I'm positive. I heard it this morning. Shane didn't go. Dog went. The D-O-double-G went.
No, we're going to check the tape.
Hang on,
That can't be right.
Check the tape
That
for me,
can't be
Dino.
right.
Mace, have you ever been to the
Oh, so Mason Cox is in talking about it?
Yeah.
Mace, have you ever been to the Kentucky Derby?
No, I've been to Belmont Stakes though.
Is it similar?
Kentucky Derby is probably a bit rougher inside, right? Like you got like inside the ground, everyone goes nuts.
Yeah, I saw Shane Crawford was there.
What?
It was like last week.
This is your show, bro.
Wayne didn't go. He actually stood me up.
Hang on, he might have been there.
Was he there?
He was.
Was Croft there?
I think Croft might have been there.
That would be awkward.
Incognito.
Wow. I know that Robert Dippy Domenico was there. Maybe he went with Dipper.
Mate.
Didn't tell me.
my
Could you
God.
imagine if Wayne actually snuck into Kentucky without telling
It'd
me?
be hard to hide around Dipper though, wouldn't it? Like he makes plenty of noise.
Speaking of
amongst
Dipper,
150.
You know, when you're over there, you just say fried chicken.
Right.
You don't need to say Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Hey, speaking, you know when you're Dipper or you
Yeah.
and you're doing an event that you feel a bit depressed about. Like I said yes to this appearance. Saturday night, I went to Ballers Clubhouse in Carlton.
Oh, yeah?
It's an electronic darts and shuffleboard place.
Ballers Clubhouse.
And
Pool tables.
And who's doing an appearance there? The great Robert Dip your head in
Stop it.
At Ballers.
At Ballers. Not lying. Not lying.
What, just in the corner of the room?
Mate, the poor he looked like I've made a huge mistake here. Just wandering around. At one point he's got the mic.
Meet and greet.
Mate, absolutely.
Okay, we're going to send this out open to all the degenerates out there.
Yeah.
If you ever spot Dipper anywhere doing a sporty, text us in and let us know.
Absolutely.
The
Mate.
most obscure place.
And it got to the point where no one was really, like, no disrespect to Dip, but no one was, like, getting selfies or anything.
Yes.
So he just got a microphone and just started commentating the randoms darts. Unbelievable. Unbelievable scenes.
It is funny.
So we've got Duck doing an appearance at a strip club in Geelong.
Dipper at the
And we've got Dipper at Ballers doing the darts.
Unbelievable.
Remember when we were doing the radio DJ all those years ago, the script, the band, the script?
Yes.
Yeah, the script. And the boys got booked when they were just trying to make their way. They got booked at a pet palooza.
That's right.
And they reckon, no, so they had to stand on tables in the pet palooza in Las Vegas.
Really?
And he said no one paid any attention to it.
Wow.
It was just like part of the wallpaper. So.
I forgot this last week. I should have brought this up. But one of the guys that came to Kentucky with me was Youngie, who JB is in cahoots with for pet stock.
Yep.
Did you go with Barry?
Yeah. Youngie.
Yeah.
And he was telling me how your biscuit, the Brownies biscuit.
I forgot you had a biscuit.
He reckons that they had it in there because it was brownies, right? Like, he reckons it wouldn't have passed the quality test in any other pet stock. Pet stock shouldn't have sold it, he reckons. Is that true or false?
Didn't it have hemp in it?
It had hemp.
That was the difference.
All the dogs were high.
They just slept.
I forgot about that.
Back in a second. Welcome back to Brownies Podcast. Follow us at Brownies Podcast on Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. Tim Nacky, the blackjack guy. That makes sense. Everyone knows who we're talking about.
Yeah, I think we're going to get him Friday.
Mate, he's have a listen to his voice at the moment. He sounds absolutely cooked.
Ladies and gentlemen, Godspeed, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
He just had his stag do. He just had his Bucks party last weekend. So that's probably why he's under the weather. I messaged him and said, come on to this podcast today. He goes, mate, I'll be out of action on Monday. I've got my stag do. So aiming for Friday.
Friday, perfect. It'll be a big week for you. Dogs, you're back in the seniors this week.
I am. Yeah, got promoted. Yeah, really high quality performance in the VFL on the weekend, and I've got promoted to Hawthorn versus Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval on Sunday. So
a big prep week. We probably won't see you Friday then.
No,
a big preparation week.
I'll get in here, but head in the books, head in the books.
Dog, this is big. Hey, John, we've got a tradition that if we hear any audio of someone losing their voice...
Ladies and gentlemen, Godspeed, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Sounds like Mugsy.
What do we do? When we hear someone broadcasting with the bad voice...
Yeah. Well, we always go to the trots, the South Australian trots, which we're big fans of, and none greater fans of Jim Jakes than us, Dino.
Heading towards a 600, second quarter, 32-1, 65 for the half. Now he goes full steam ahead. We're one step closer, and he goes forward 3 wide quickly, going with the Lalaya Rose on the inside. Cop and Eiffel can't go with them. Then in turn behind those between runs, we own a Tejan. On the inside, Lindell Dadian at the tail in the field. We're looking about 5 or 6 metres to Boomerelli boy. I think we're going here. In front, leading the way. It's Lalaya Rose, leads by 2 metres in second placing. No, I don't think I'll get through this. Hello, Yatesy, where are you? We need you, mate. In front of Lalaya Rose, down the outside, trying hard, was one step closer, but Lalaya Rose wins. Second placing, we own a Tejan, I think, or on the inside, Cop and Eiffel.
Oh, ecstasy, bros. Ecstasy.
What an effort by old Jimmy. I think he's passed away, Jimmy.
Oh, rest in peace.
May have or not, but he probably passed away moments after that.
He has given us a gift for eternity.
Oh, it was fantastic.
All
right, have a good week.
Well, no, listener party real quick before we sign off. We're going to start talking about it. We're going to conduct meetings. We're definitely not doing a bus trip again because whoever organised the bus last year didn't get a bus with a toilet on. And that was a fundamental error. Am I looking at you?
Buses are expensive. The one without a toilet was much cheaper.
Yes. Well, it didn't stop the boys from having a slash late. There seemed to be a lot of fluid running down the aisle by the end of the session.
No, that was just water. Hopefully, Jesus.
September in this town's big, isn't it? Yeah, our season culminates, finals. I'd love to do something at a pub.
A small pub.
A listener pub. Small pub. Maybe grand final week. Why couldn't we do a grand final week? Could we do a live show?
Mate, that'd be amazing. And the front area of a bar, the little bit.
Yeah.
You know, the intimate bit.
I've just got a really quick What a World.
Okay.
It's not a great one like last week, but Barry Tangat received a shock when he received an email from the Pennsylvania.
What sport?
Barry Tangat received a shock when
the way he came in. It was like the ring announcer when he stuffed out. I'll just come in real big the second time.
Barry Tangat received a shock when he was charged $34 billion in overdue taxes and penalties and interest by the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue. The figure was so astronomical that it didn't fit on one line on the bill. This year, his tax prepared noticed his accountant a mistake in his 2022 return and promptly sent it off to be amended. They realised that, $34 billion. So they reached out to the Department of Revenue and said that they think this is an error and they're going to get back to him. Really shit. What a world.
He lost confidence.
I probably shouldn't have gone there.
You could hear his voice go down like a plane. That's unbelievable.
Put Steve on.
Steve, what do you have to say about this?
I will take responsibility for this.
Still a good night. Still a good show.
Still a great night.